welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. I'm so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
Today we're diving into a topic that can really elevate your real estate investing game. Joining or starting a real estate mastermind.
Absolutely. It's a powerful way to connect with like-minded individuals and share insights.
Right? And it can be a game changer for those looking to build long-term wealth, especially if you're over 40 and thinking about your future.
We'll explore what a mastermind is, the benefits of being part of one, and even how to start your own if that's something you're considering.
Plus, we'll share some tips on how to find the right people to collaborate with and how to ensure those meetings are effective and productive.
It's all about leveraging the experience and knowledge of others.
Exactly. So if you're looking to level up your real estate journey, stick around.
Let's jump right into it.
All right, Mike, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a real estate mastermind, and why should someone consider joining one?
Sarah, when we talk about joining or starting a real estate mastermind, it really strikes me how important that is for folks over 40, especially right now. Retirement timelines are shifting for so many people.
Absolutely, Mike. I think a lot of listeners might feel that pressure, right? As they approach retirement age, they're looking at their savings and thinking, am I really going to have enough?
Exactly. And with inflation on the rise, it's like if you're not actively investing in something like real estate, your purchasing power is just eroding. I've seen so many investors, especially those in their 40s and 50s, who join masterminds to get that edge, to learn how to protect their wealth.
Right. And it's not just about making money. It's also about securing a future where they're not living paycheck to paycheck in retirement. I remember a client of mine, let's call him Tom. He was in his early 50s, and he realized that his retirement account wasn't going to cut it. He joined a mastermind and started looking at real estate as a way to build that security.
Oh, Tom's story is a great example. He surrounded himself with people who had experience in the real estate market. They share strategies that help navigate those tricky waters. And that's crucial for anyone wanting to make that leap later in life.
Definitely. And, the emotional side of financial security can't be overlooked. I think a lot of people underestimate how much stress financial uncertainty can create. Just having a community that understands those fears, that's so powerful.
For sure. I had another investor, let's call her Linda. She was a bit nervous about the changing market trends. By joining a mastermind, she found support and encouragement. She even learned ways to pivot her strategy in response to shifts in the market, which gave her a lot more confidence.
That's a great point, Mike. Market shifts can be daunting, especially for those who haven't been in the game for long. A mastermind group can provide that real-time feedback and insights that can make a world of difference. It's like having a safety net.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how wealth transfer is becoming a more pressing issue for families. People over 40 are starting to think, how can I not just build wealth for myself, but also for my children or grandchildren?
Yes, that legacy aspect is huge. I know a family where the parents invested in rental properties while their kids were still in school. Now those properties are generating income that will help fund college for the kids. It's a win-win.
Right, and they're also teaching their kids financial literacy along the way. That's the kind of education that can last a lifetime. It's more than just the money. It's about the values and knowledge you pass down.
And I think that's where the support of a mastermind comes in again. It's not just about the individual investor's journey, but also about building a community that shares those values. They can brainstorm ideas on how to include the next generation in their investment strategies.
Yes. And, current economic trends are shifting rapidly. The market is unpredictable, and having a group of like-minded individuals to bounce ideas off of can really help mitigate risks. It's a way to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize that many people over 40 might feel like they've missed the boat on real estate investing. But that's just not the case. There are still plenty of opportunities out there, especially when you have the right support system.
Definitely. There are so many niches within real estate that can still be very profitable, from multifamily units to vacation rentals. A mastermind can help you identify those niches that align with your goals and risk tolerance.
And you can share experiences too. Like, if someone in the group has had success with Airbnb, they can share what worked for them and what didn't, which can be incredibly valuable for others considering that route.
Exactly. Real-life examples from peers can be more relatable than just reading a book or listening to a podcast. It's like, hey, I can do that too. And that encouragement is so vital.
Plus, masterminds can help keep you accountable. I mean, setting goals is one thing, but having a group that checks in on you, that's a game changer.
For sure, I've seen investors who were hesitant at first, but once they got involved in a mastermind, they actually started taking action, and they realized that they weren't alone in their journey.
And that's key, right? Feeling supported and not isolated in this process. It fosters a sense of community that many people over 40 might be craving, especially as they transition into new phases of life.
Absolutely, Sarah. And as we mentioned, the emotional aspect of financial security is essential. Knowing that you have a group of people who understand your challenges and are there to cheer you on, it can really affect your mindset.
Yeah, it's about building that confidence and resilience. And when you're looking at long-term investments, you want to make sure you're not just reacting to fear or uncertainty. You want to be proactive.
Exactly. A mastermind can help you develop that proactive mindset, giving you the tools and strategies to make informed decisions.
So, as we wrap up this section, it's clear that joining or starting a real estate mastermind is not just about the numbers. It's about building a supportive community that can help you navigate the complexities of real estate investing, especially as you plan for the future.
Well said, Sarah. And now that we've covered why this matters, let's dive into some core strategies that can really make a difference for our listeners. So, let's dive into some of the core strategies and rules of thumb that can really help when you're, considering joining or starting a real estate mastermind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having those guidelines can really streamline the process. Where do you want to start?
Well, a good starting point is the 1% rule. It's pretty straightforward. If you're looking at a rental property, the monthly rent should be at least 1% of the purchase price. So if a property costs, say, $200,000, you should aim for that property to rent for around $2,000 per month.
That makes sense. So if it's under that 1%, you might want to think twice, right?
Exactly. It's a quick way to gauge whether a property is worth pursuing further. If the numbers don't work out, it might be time to move on to the next one.
What about the 50% rule? I've heard about that too.
Right. The 50% rule is another handy tool. It's a way to estimate your operating expenses. Basically, assume that about 50% of your rental income will go towards expenses like maintenance, property management, taxes, and insurance. So, if you're bringing in $2,000 a month, you should expect to spend about $1,000 on those costs.
That's a good guideline. It helps to manage expectations, especially for newcomers.
Exactly. And once you've figured in those expenses, you want to look at your net operating income, or NOI. The formula is pretty simple. Your income minus your expenses gives you your NOI. This is really crucial for evaluating a deal.
Right. So if we take that $2,000 income and subtract the $1,000 expenses, we're left with $1,000 as our NOI. What's next after that?
Well, then you can look at the cap rate. This is a way to evaluate the profitability of an investment property. The formula is NOI divided by the purchase price. So if the property costs $200,000 and you have an NOI of $1,000 per month, that's $12,000 a year. Divide that by $200,000 and you get a cap rate of 6%.
Got it. So a 6% cap rate would be decent for a rental property, right?
Yeah, generally speaking, anything above 5% is considered good, depending on the market. But, it's always good to compare it to similar properties in the area. You want to get a sense of what's typical for that market.
That's super helpful. Now, what about financing options? That can get tricky, especially for first-time investors.
Oh, for sure. There are several options. Traditional mortgages are common, but you might also consider hard money loans if you're looking to flip properties. Those typically have higher interest rates, but can be easier to qualify for if you have a solid plan.
Yeah, I've heard that. What about private money lenders?
Great question. Private money lenders can be a good resource, especially if you have a personal connection. They can offer more flexible terms than banks, and, they might be willing to fund deals that traditional lenders wouldn't touch.
So it's about building those relationships, right?
Exactly. Networking is key, especially in a mastermind group. You can learn from others, experiences, and tap into their networks. It's all about collaboration.
Speaking of collaboration, what about property types? Are there specific ones you recommend focusing on?
Well, single-family homes are always a solid choice for beginners, you know? They tend to be easier to manage and finance, but multifamily properties can be great too because they provide multiple income streams.
Right. So if one tenant leaves, you're not left completely in the lurch.
Exactly. And then there are commercial properties. Those can yield higher returns, but they come with their own set of challenges. You really need to understand the market and the property type before diving into those.
What about markets? How do you choose the right one?
That's a crucial part of the process. Look for markets with strong job growth, population increases, and, a good rental demand. You can use resources like the U.S. Census Bureau or local real estate websites to gather that data.
So it's about doing your homework, right?
Absolutely. And don't forget about the importance of location. A property in a good school district or near amenities can often command higher rents and appreciate more over time.
Yeah, I can see how that would pay off in the long run.
And then, of course, you want to have a deal evaluation checklist. This is where you list out all the key metrics and factors for any property you're considering. Things like the purchase price, expected rental income, operating expenses, and potential appreciation.
That's a smart strategy. It keeps everything organized and helps you avoid making rushed decisions.
Exactly. And it's also helpful for comparing multiple properties side by side. You want to make sure you're making informed choices.
So, what are some common pitfalls to watch out for when starting out or joining a mastermind?
Well, one common pitfall is, not doing enough due diligence. It's easy to get excited about a property and overlook important details.
Yeah, we're getting caught up in analysis paralysis, right?
Exactly. You want to strike a balance between being thorough and taking action.
That makes total sense. What else?
Another big one is not having a clear investment strategy or goal. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, it's easy to get sidetracked.
So setting those goals is key.
Definitely. And also be careful of the shiny object syndrome. It's tempting to jump from one strategy to another, but it can lead to confusion and ultimately stall your progress.
So staying focused is crucial.
Absolutely. It's all about building that foundation and sticking with it,
Such great advice. I think that really sets the stage for what we'll talk about next.
So Sarah, one of the biggest pitfalls I see with people, especially those new to real estate investing, is over-leveraging.
Yeah, I've heard that term a lot. Can you explain what it really means?
Sure. Over-leveraging is when you take on too much debt relative to your income or cash flow. You might think, I can afford this property. But if you stretch your finances too thin, it can lead to a world of hurt.
Right, like if the market shifts or something unexpected happens.
Exactly. I once had a client who bought a property with a high loan-to-value ratio, thinking the property values would just keep climbing. But then there was a downturn in the market, and suddenly they were underwater.
Oh no. Did they manage to recover from that?
Luckily, yes, but it took time. They had to sell at a loss and really learned the hard way about the importance of having a buffer. It's crucial to assess your own financial situation, not just what the lender says you can afford.
That makes so much sense. And I guess another common mistake is not screening tenants properly, right?
Absolutely. Bad tenants can be a nightmare. I had another client who was so eager to rent out their property that they skipped the full screening process. They ended up with a tenant who stopped paying rent after 3 months.
Yikes, that can really hurt your cash flow.
It does. And it not only affects cash flow, but also the stress levels of the landlord. They had to go through an eviction process, which not only cost them more money, but took a toll on their peace of mind.
Wow, that's tough. So what do you recommend for screening tenants?
Well, I suggest a thorough application process that includes credit checks, references from previous landlords, and even income verification. It's worth taking the time up front to avoid headaches later on.
And what about cash flow? I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of owning a property, but ignoring cash flow can be a big mistake, right?
Definitely. Cash flow is the lifeblood of your investment. I've seen investors who focus too much on potential appreciation rather than the current cash flow. They bought a property, but the rents didn't cover their mortgage and expenses.
That's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Absolutely. One fellow investor I know bought a fixer-upper thinking he could flip it quickly for a profit, but he underestimated renovation costs and ended up with a property that was costing him more than it was bringing in.
So what should investors do instead?
They should analyze the numbers carefully before buying. Make sure you account for all expenses: mortgage, insurance, maintenance, and vacancy rates. If the cash flow doesn't make sense from the start, it's time to reconsider.
And then there's the whole idea of timing the market, right?
Yes, timing can be tricky. Many investors try to time their purchases based on market trends. I've met people who waited for the perfect moment to buy, only to miss out on great opportunities.
It's like trying to catch a falling knife, isn't it?
Exactly. I had a student who waited for 2 years to buy, thinking prices would drop. In the end, they lost out on several properties that appreciated significantly during that time.
So the lesson is to focus on the fundamentals instead of trying to predict the market?
Exactly. Invest in properties that fit your financial goals and cash flow needs, rather than chasing market trends.
And then there are those hidden costs that can sneak up on new investors, right?
Yes, hidden costs can really catch people off guard. I've had investors who only budgeted for the purchase price and didn't account for things like closing costs, property taxes, or maintenance. One investor I know ended up with a hefty repair bill right after closing.
That's such a good point. So what can people do to identify those hidden costs early on?
A thorough due diligence process is key. Get estimates for any needed repairs before you buy. Talk to other landlords about their experiences, and don't hesitate to ask questions. It's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
And I guess if you do find yourself in a tough situation, there are ways to recover, right?
Absolutely. If you find you're in over your head, consider refinancing to lower your payments, or even selling the property if it makes sense. The important thing is to stay proactive and seek advice from experienced investors or professionals.
That's so reassuring to hear. It sounds like no matter what mistakes you might make, there are always steps you can take to get back on track.
Definitely. Learning from mistakes is part of the journey. The key is to stay vigilant, keep learning, and surround yourself with the right people who can guide you.
So, in summary, it's about being informed, taking your time with decisions, and being ready for the unexpected.
Perfectly said, Sarah, and remember, investing in real estate is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about building long-term wealth, so take your time and make informed choices.
Great advice, Mike. I know our listeners are going to find this super helpful as they navigate their own real estate journeys.
Well, I hope so. And I'm excited to dive into the next steps for those looking to move forward in their investing journey. So let's dive into some immediate steps that our listeners can take right now to either join or start a mastermind group.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think the first step is really identifying your goals, right? What do you want to achieve by being in a mastermind?
Exactly. Take a moment to think about that. Are you looking for accountability, specific knowledge, or networking opportunities? Writing those goals down can really help clarify your intentions.
And once you have your goals, you can start looking for groups that align with them. There are, a bunch of online platforms and local meetups. Websites like meetup.com are fantastic for finding local real estate groups.
Right, and if you're feeling a bit shy about joining a group, you could consider starting your own. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, just a small gathering, maybe with a couple of friends or colleagues who share similar interests.
Totally. And when you're starting your own group, think about how often you want to meet. Weekly? Monthly? Just set a rhythm that works for everyone involved.
Yeah, and don't forget to establish a clear agenda for your meetings. Having a structured format helps keep everyone focused and makes the most of your time together.
For sure. And let's talk about tools. I think having the right apps can really enhance your experience.
Absolutely. One great tool is BiggerPockets. It's not just a website. It's a whole community where you can find forums, articles, and resources. You can even connect with potential mastermind members there.
And there's the BiggerPockets calculator, which is super useful for analyzing deals. You can run numbers and see if a potential investment makes sense.
And if you're looking at rental properties, Rentometer is a fantastic tool for checking rental rates in your area. It gives you a good idea of the going rates so you can set competitive prices.
Ooh, I love that one. And If you have access to your local MLS, that can be a goldmine for finding properties, analyzing trends, and getting that real-time data.
Exactly. Also, consider checking out Deal Check. It's a user-friendly tool for analyzing properties, and it helps you calculate cash flow, ROI, and more.
That's super helpful. And let's not forget about some great resources to read or listen to. There are so many books and podcasts out there.
Right. The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller is a classic. It offers practical advice that can really set a solid foundation for your investing journey.
And for podcasts, I'd recommend Bigger Pockets podcast. It's filled with real-life stories and actionable tips from investors at all levels, which can be really inspiring.
Absolutely. Another good book is Real Estate Investing for Dummies. It breaks down complex concepts into more digestible bites, perfect for anyone just starting out.
Yeah, and don't forget about building habits. Consistency is key here. Start small, like analyzing one deal per week, or setting aside time each week to research your local market.
Exactly. You could also join a local meetup group. Even if you're just listening at first, you'll absorb so much. And who knows, you might find a potential mastermind partner there.
That's such a good point. Networking is everything in this business. Just reach out and connect with others who share your interests.
And you can also leverage social media. Join Facebook groups or LinkedIn communities focused on real estate investing. Engaging with those groups can lead to connections and opportunities you might not have found otherwise.
Right. And remember, you don't have to have all the answers or even be an expert to join a group. Everyone's at different stages. And that diversity can create a richer learning environment.
Yes. Just start where you are. The important thing is to take that first step, whatever it looks like for you.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
Well, as we wrap up, let's recap some of the key takeaways from our discussion on joining or starting a real estate mastermind.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, the power of community really stands out, doesn't it? Being around like-minded individuals can, really motivate you and keep you accountable.
Exactly. And then there's the wealth of knowledge you gain. Just hearing different perspectives and strategies, it can really open your eyes to new opportunities.
For sure. And we also talked about the importance of setting clear goals, right? When everyone in the group knows what you're aiming for, it helps to create a supportive environment.
Right, and let's not forget about the networking aspect. You never know who might connect you with a great deal or a valuable resource.
Yeah, and that can be a game changer. So whether you're starting your journey or looking to elevate your investing game, finding the right mastermind can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And remember, building wealth through real estate is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, patience, and the right support.
Definitely. If you found today's episode helpful, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and, share your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have in the comments.
And if you know someone over 40 who's thinking about investing in property, share this episode with them. You never know how it might inspire them.
Yes, and don't miss our next episode. We'll dive into Bigger Pockets for Beginners, how to use it. It's going to be super informative.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Me too. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you feel inspired to take that next step in your real estate journey.
Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.